Hello, everyone. Yep, we got to use two mics, so bear with me. I got to make sure they're both working. Are we all set there, Mr. Mescal? Okay. So I'm Allie Bushman. I'm the assistant principal here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm going to be the administrator on the trip next year. So I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't gone in a couple of years. I have two little kids, so it took me a couple years to get back to being able to be away for a whole week with your kids. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been on the Washington, D.C. trip a handful of times previous to COVID, and I'm really excited to get back to going with 200 eighth graders back to a major city. But all in all, I think it's going to be a great trip this year, and I'm really excited to get to go with Mr. Richard. So he'll be taking over in just a minute to go over all of the essentials, the packet that you have in front of you, and take any questions that you may have at this time. But I really just wanted to touch upon a few things. This is a curriculum-based school activity that we really want to make sure everybody has access to. So if anybody is in need of scholarship, that's something that we can work with anybody on. You just need to reach out to Mr. West or myself or Mr. Richard, and we'll be in touch regarding how to go through that process. Secondly, last year, Mr. West put together a pretty extensive fundraising opportunity for anybody who's going on the trip. So anybody who wants to raise money for, or their student wants to raise money for their trip, it's called a cash calendar. So basically the way that it works is a calendar for the month of December, and you're selling raffle tickets to family members, friends, to be pulled each day of the month of December to win some pretty significant prizes. If I remember correctly, was there like a golf outing on there last year? There were some two golf outings. And I believe there were 2 or 3 students last year who were able to, through the proceeds from that fundraiser, were able to foot the bill for their trip. So if your student really puts in some effort and work, they might be able to pay for their whole trip through that cash calendar opportunity. And then lastly, the last piece that I have to talk about before turning the mic over to Mr. Richard is student expectations and behavior. We will be going over, obviously, student expectations and behavior while we're on the trip, but I just wanted to make it very clear to everybody, students and parents, that student behavior throughout the school year next year is going to be taken into consideration upon going on the trip. So it's the same every year. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that student behavior throughout the entire school year leading up to the trip is taken into consideration, because we are obviously representing Hollis Brookline Middle School when we're down in our nation's capital. So I'll be turning this over to Mr. Richard for all the fun stuff.
All right, so you guys ready to be away from your kids for a week? Vacation? You will be by the time the trip comes. All right, so I'm going to go over a bunch of stuff with this packet here that you guys have in a little bit. If you didn't pick up a packet, you can go do so at the table over there. I was hoping we'd have more people come, because normally we anticipate probably 165, 170 kids going on the trip, and there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of questions, but not you guys, because you'll get everything right here. If anybody that you know of is interested in going on the trip and they're not here at this meeting, this is being live streamed. There will be a link that'll we will be able to share with everybody, so please make sure that they take a look at that before contacting anybody with questions, because it could answer it. So this trip, we're going Monday through Thursday this upcoming year. It is April 7th through April 10th, a Monday through Thursday. Just so you guys are aware, the bus leaves at 6 a.m. on April 7th. Not 6:01, not 6:02, 6 a.m. So we'll get into that a little bit later in April, but you got to make sure that your kid is ready for long days, little sleep, a lot of walking. We walk probably about 8 to 10 miles a day. They probably have about 8 to 9 hours of, I'm going to call it, opportunity for sleep. because what they do in their room when we say that you're in for the night and we lock them in is on them. And I will talk to them quite a bit during the year and tell them that what you do at night in your room, you own it the next day. So we had a few people this past year that didn't believe me, and their stomach said otherwise the next morning. So it didn't go too well. So we'll go over that again more as it goes later on, but just so you know, when you get them Thursday night, they're going to be extremely tired, okay? We'll wear them out. So with this trip, right now, if you look at the very front page of that packet, okay, in order to register, there's a link right at the top of that page. Everything that you do with this trip is done online, okay? The registration, payments, all that. There's no fee for credit cards. There's no fee for late payments. There's no fee for any of that. So the date that everybody needs to be registered by is September 1st, so right in that first week of school. So the reason why we wanted to get you here in June was to kind of get you ready, get prepared. In the past, we've really given a month to basically say, all right, you got $1,000 to pay for this trip. There is a payment plan. The trip doesn't have to get all paid all at once, so you don't have to worry about that, okay? So as of right now, the cost of the trip is $1,058. I can tell you flat out, it's not gonna be that expensive, okay? So the school board and the district approved a sum of money to go towards the Washington, D.C. trip. It's a flat sum of money, so once we figure out how many kids are going on the trip, we can divide that amount of money that we have by the amount of kids going and reduce your price, okay? I would say it'll definitely be under $1,000, okay? My hope is probably right around $950. So a few options you have here. When you do register, you can pay in full at any point in time. I wouldn't pay in full right away, because if you pay $1,058, then you're gonna have to wait for a refund check to come to you, which it will come to you. If you wanna pay a large sum just to get it out of the way, I would say $900 would be a good one. It won't be any less than $900, and then you can pay the balance after. But there is a pay plan that I'll talk about here in a little bit. So just a little about this trip and the itinerary. So just so you know, on our school website, where, under the section that says for families, if you go down, it says Washington, D.C. Every single thing, every question you would have on the trip is right in there. The hotel we're staying at, the itinerary, which, just so you know, will change between now and then. It always does. The itinerary actually will change while we're down there probably as well. This past year, we had the Japanese Prime Minister decided to stop by Washington, D.C., so it kind of threw our route off a bit. We still do everything that's on here. We just do it in a different order, okay? So I'm not going to go through everything on the itinerary. You could see it on that first page down where it says included venues and sightseeing. That is everything that we plan to cover during the trip. There's usually stuff that's added to that as well because we have time. So your $1,058, we'll call it, price covers the bus ride there and back. We use coach buses. If anybody did ski club this year, it's the exact same coach buses. We use the Premier bus lines. They do a great job. That'll get us down to DC. They drive us around DC, and they bring us home. You have hotel for 3 nights. The hotel is quad occupancy, which means 4 people to a room. There are 2 queen beds in every room. The girls usually don't have a problem with it. The boys get a little skittish, but they'll be okay. No one has not made it back because of that. You have, every morning, we have breakfast at the hotel. So all 3 mornings that we wake up in DC, there's breakfast right in the hotel, breakfast buffet that's included. You get 3 lunches that are paid for in the course of this trip, and there are 3 dinners that are paid for as well. So basically, once we get to Washington, D.C., they don't have to pay for anything except for probably souvenirs, okay? If they want a snack somewhere, there are some food trucks that we've gone to in the past. I wouldn't recommend going to those, and we'll talk to the kids about that. They're not regulated or inspected anymore, and the people work in there for 10 straight hours, and there's no bathroom in them. So, yeah, gross is right. Yeah, exactly. But I will say, though, the ice cream trucks down there, I visited one of them this year, the best ice cream I ever had, so. Yeah, everything down in DC, well, like it is everywhere else, but in DC, it's a lot more expensive than anywhere else. So we give them enough so they can get a lunch. If they want to buy any snack at any point in time, as long as there's time to do it, which there will be, they can definitely do that. Let's see, so we have a trip leader. So the trip leaders on this trip, they are with the bus. The second we get to DC, they hop on the bus, and they're with us literally 24/7 until we depart to come home on Thursday. We have all admission, taxes, and gratuities to any place we go. If you look down below, there's a lot of pretty good places we go. There are a lot of appointments that we have, so time is the most important thing we have when we're down there, is we gotta keep on schedule. So you're gonna hear your kids might say, well, they're rushing us everywhere we go. We try not to rush people, but we pack the itinerary with stuff. And when we have appointments, if we show up late, we don't get to go. So we got to make sure that we're on time, which is why when the bus leaves on Monday morning, it has to leave at 6. If by chance you miss the bus, you can text someone on the trip, and we can tell you where we're going to do our first stop, which is usually Connecticut, New York, right around that area, and we can hop on at that point in time. So in order to register, which again, registration is due by September 1st. The registration period is open right now, so you got 3 months to get registered. You're gonna register by September 1st, and you need to place a deposit down of $150. Okay, that $150 secures your spot on the trip and gets you going. When you do register, one of the most important things on there when you register is on the website, it asks for dietary needs and allergies. Because if we go to a restaurant where we're all having the same meal, if you have someone who's allergic to peanuts or milk, any milk products or any of that, if you put it in the registration site, they will let the restaurant know before we get there, so they'll have something for you, okay? Any type of food allergies, or even if you're vegan, vegetarian, or any special diet, definitely put it on there. That way we make sure that everywhere we go, there is a meal for them. A lot of places we do go to a lot of food courts, so you know, your child has plenty of choices in order to pick what they would eat. So with this deposit due on 9/1, and then after that in October, November, December, January, and February, we spread the payments out. At any point in time, like I said, you could pay it in full. If you miss one of the payment dates, let's say that the 10/7 payment date comes up and you realize it's 10/15 and you didn't make the payment, not a big deal. You make the payment, there's no late fee, none of that. Okay? You will get a reminder once you register. You'll get a reminder once every payment's due through your email that'll tell you that the payment is coming due, so you can go in and make that payment. All right, so go to the second page. That gives you all the information step by step. You'll see at the top it says Educational Discovery Tours, online registration instructions. I'm not going to go through them all. Steps 1 through 11 will get you everything you need to sign up. If by chance you have any trouble at all with the sign up, you can email me. My email address is on the top of the very first page of that packet. If you happen to email me during the summer, just be patient. I'm not in my work email every day, so I will get to you. We got a few months for me to get to you, but I'll check it probably every week or every couple weeks. I'll check it. So I'll be able to get to you if you do have questions, so don't worry about that. Now, if you feel as if you're worried, is my child going to go the day of the trip? Are they gonna get sick and not be able to go on the trip? Or is their behavior gonna get in the way during the school year and they're not gonna be allowed to go on the trip? If that's the case, you need to make sure that you get the insurance as well. Now, trip insurance can be done one of two ways. You can get it through the registration website, and that has to be done within 14 days of registering. And that insurance, they call it cancel for any reason. It literally is cancel for any reason. So on the day of the trip, let's say that your kid decides, you know what, I'm not going on the trip. You can cancel. You cancel for any reason. Any reason is they're just not going on the trip. You get your money back, okay? You can get your own insurance as well. If you want to purchase your own travel insurance, you're more than welcome to do that. If you get it through Educational Discovery Tours, you can get that. It's through Travel Insured International, and all the pricing is on here. It will be $94.50 is what it will be for the insurance. So when you go on to the registration website, you're going to see that insurance option on there as well. So again, if you decline it, you still have within 14 days to go in there and select it, okay? So that's very important if you think that for any reason your child will not be able to go on the trip. So on the trip, just so you know, every night we have security guards in the hallways just to keep your kids safe. Your kids, once we get into the hotel, they literally go right to the room. They do not come out of the room. A lot of them will say, do you have a pool at the hotel? Yes, we do, but you'll never see it. Do you have a gym? Yes, we do, but you'll never see it. Okay? If they will see their room, and that's it at the hotel. We do that for safety. The biggest thing on this entire trip is to keep 165 to 170 kids safe, okay? So what we do is there's security in the hallway. If any kid comes out of their room, security will call one of us chaperones, and we will address the issue right there. We will tell the kids even before they go, if anybody knocks on your door, even if they say they're a security guard, do not open the door, okay? They'll call us, and we'll come up to the room, okay? So it's all about keeping your kids safe. So those security guards are there. We have 2 medical personnel that go on the trip as well. Those medical personnel will be in charge of if anything happens to a kid, if they get injured or sick or anything during the trip, they'll be there to take care of it. And they will also be there to hand out any prescription medications that your child would need during the trip, okay? So at this point, are there any questions? Oh, come on, somebody's got to have some. I was that good? Question. Oh, hold on. I like Bob Barker. I got to carry this one too. Yes, roommates. So roommate assignments will be done in February. Your child will be able to pick who they room with. And just so you know, when the roommate selection happens, which will probably be 2 weeks before February break, I would strongly recommend, because you're going to have to sign a form saying, yeah, I know my kids are rooming with these kids. Make sure all the names are written on the form. Because we had a couple people, not this year, but the year before, where parents were like, wait a minute, I didn't know my kid was rooming with that kid. Make sure it's all on the form, okay? And it's 4 to a room. And just so you know, let's say, because this is going to happen, okay? Mostly with the girls. Okay? Right now, there's probably 6 girls saying the 4 of us are going to room together in D.C. Okay? So obviously, you do the math. 6 and 4 are different. Okay? So what's going to happen is there will be groups of 2. There will be several groups of 2. So if there's a group of 2 here and a group of 2 here, we look to see, will those 2 mesh well together? And we put them together as a 4. If there's somebody who can't find a roommate, because that happens as well, we will make sure that that person is matched up with somebody. Because nobody on this trip can be alone. Everywhere they go, with the buddy system, they're always with somebody, okay? So yeah, that's a good question. They will be able to pick who they room with, and hopefully you know who they're rooming with, because you have to sign the form as well. And if someone doesn't return a form back, I'll just stick them with somebody for the roommate, because my turnaround time for what I have to do for putting the bus list together, sending them to educational discovery tours, they have to turn around and send it to the Capitol building, and once we send it to the Capitol building, nothing can be changed. So once the forms get turned in, there can't be any changes. So they'll have probably a week or so, there'll be a weekend built in there as well, where they'll be able to get the forms filled out, brought it back to me, okay?
Just so that everybody knows, the form that Mr. Richard is talking about is just a piece of paper that each kid in that room will bring home to their parent or guardian and say, these are the people that I'm rooming with, so that you can see and you can sign off on who they're rooming with. So if you don't see that form at any point in time next year, call one of us. We'll make sure you get it.
Yeah, and that form, like I said, will go out a couple weeks before February break, and it does, it gets passed from family to family to family to family. So if you have twins and they're rooming together, it speeds it up, okay? Any other questions? Yes? Yeah, the question is since we get back on a Thursday, is Friday a school optional day? I don't know 100% right now. We will let you know, definitely. I know that a couple years ago, yes, it was. Last year, we were able to go on Friday, but this year, the bus company, for some reason, can't come back on Fridays anymore. So we will let you know that unless you know that.
No. I realized that I'm like not talking into Meg. All I was gonna say is that's like an SAU decision, so we don't really find out till we get closer to the actual week of the trip. Likely that'll be the case since that's what we did a few years back. But yeah, we'll find out probably after the first of the year.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably around roommate selection time is when we will probably know whether or not that day will be an optional day, which, when it was an optional day, not many people took the option. So, any other questions on registering on the trip? Yes? Catch at this. All right, yeah, all right, so I know it's correct, yeah. So the money that they'll have to bring, and I will tell you right now, the best thing to do is, so lunch on the way down is not paid for. So they'll have to pay for lunch on the way down. Dinner, once we get to DC, paid for. I would strongly recommend that they bring their own lunch down to DC. Because what happens, and this last year was probably the worst I've seen it, is we get to a rest stop in New Jersey for lunch, and when we get to that rest stop in New Jersey for lunch, we bring about 200 people into a rest stop that already has 200 people in it. We're only there for about a half hour or 40 minutes, and everybody gets in the line at Chick-fil-A, which is about an hour wait. So we don't have enough time to go through. So they will need money if they decide to do that. However, I would strongly recommend they bring their own lunch.
And there are other options aside from Chick-fil-A. They just all...
Right, they all want Chick-fil-A because there are none around here. Oh wait, there is. Any other questions? Yes? So chaperones is basically, this past year, we didn't need any parent chaperones because we had, if it does open up, we will let you know. But this past year, thankfully, we had 16 teachers that decided they were gonna do it, so it was great. So, but if we do need chaperones, I will reach out to everybody and say, please help. But from what I hear, I mean, I would think that everybody that went last year, from what I can tell right now, is gonna be chaperoning again. But if the need does come up, we'll let you know. Any other questions? No questions? All All right, so again, if anything comes up with the registration, you can email me. My email's on the top of the first page. Email me, I'll get back to you, make sure everything's fine. And my thing is this, is I know Ms. Bushman talked about financial assistance if people need it. One of the reasons why we're starting early as well is this gives the kids an opportunity this summer, babysit, mow lawns, right? Do some stuff, maybe to earn a few bucks to get their trip going as well. And definitely, whether you can, you know, you need financial assistance or not, take advantage of the fundraiser. Because every penny that you fundraise goes towards your trip. It doesn't go into a pool and everybody shares it. It goes towards your trip. And like Ms. Bushman said, we had a couple kids this past year, paid for their entire trip doing that. So definitely something to take advantage of. No more questions? No? If you do have a question that you think is individual to you, feel free to come up and ask. Otherwise, thank you everybody for coming. We will have another meeting if questions do pop up, probably during open house in September. So if you want to come to that, you can. It'll basically be the same thing you see here. All right? Thank you very much. Have a good night.